The Russian invasion of Ukraine has caused a wind of change in Europe, a continent in which many states gradually lowered their military spending after the Cold War. Governments are now looking to remilitarize, realizing that the Russian threat of expansion will remain for the foreseeable future. One of those European nations is Poland, which is now on pace to become Europe's largest and most sophisticated non-nuclear military power. To many this will come as a surprise, but there is an inexorability in Poland's impending rise to superpower status in Europe. Putin's plan to revive Russian domination throughout Eastern Europe, all the way to the German border, has been revealed. The rise of Poland is not a prophecy. It's rather the inevitable result of the movement of global tectonic plates since 1990. A geopolitical shift which until recently had passed generally unnoticed. An in-depth geopolitical analysis of Eurasia was published in 2009 by Professor George Friedman in his best-selling book, The Next 100 Years. This contains his assertion that Poland will become the superpower of Europe in the same way as Israel in the Middle East. Israel rose to its status initially because of the total military, political, and economic commitment to it by the U.S. America's hat trick would now be to do the same with Poland, laying the foundations for a polished bloc, which will lead Poland, the Baltic states, Ukraine, and other East Europeans to displace Russia as the dominant power. The sense of urgency from Poland comes from broken treaties and the renewed Russian nationalism coming out from Vladimir Putin's United Russia Party. Poland's remilitarization is not solely based on preparing for whatever threats come from the Kremlin, but also reflects a desire to no longer rely on word powers, which in the past promised to protect Warsaw but never did. Washington recognizes Poland's new role as the pivot along the eastern flank. Last week at the NATO Madrid summit, President Biden announced that America will establish a permanent headquarters for the Army's 5 Corpus in Poland and significantly increase the number of America's troops and equipment deployed there, today numbering 10,500. Last but not least, as military mobility requirements have shifted to the north-south axis, Poland's central position in the Baltic to Black Sea makes the country a central distribution hub for NATO's entire eastern flank. Currently, there are only 2 NATO countries in Europe willing to stand up to Russian imperialism: Britain and Poland. We will probably be able to add at least 2 Scandinavian countries to this list once they join NATO, most likely Sweden and Finland. All other European countries are too enmeshed economically with Russia, too pacifist, or simply blind to their fate should Russia win. 1 week before Putin invaded Ukraine, a security pact was signed in Kiev between Britain, Poland, and Ukraine. Does this make Boris Johnson a prophet of things to come? No, but it certainly indicates a clarity of mind unique in Western Europe as to the gravity of the situation in the wake of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Poland has embarked on the largest procurement of conventional American weapon shipments in history. In March, Warsaw signed off on $4.75 billion worth of Patriot missiles, bolstering the nation's anti-missile defense system. More importantly, Poland has committed to growing its army to 300,000. Within 5 years, it will have the largest and most powerful armed forces in Europe. Poland continued to strengthen its defensive capabilities. This includes a major weapons purchase from military tech giant South Korea, including 180 K2 tanks to be delivered by 2024 and another 400 by 2030. Polish Defense Minister also stated that Poland will increase its active duty forces to 400,000, with an increase in defense allocations to 3% of the nation's GDP. This renewed will on the part of the Polish defense industry to prepare itself for the worst not only stems from Europe's evolving geopolitics, but also Poland's past of being betrayed by superpowers that promised to protect the nation. Britain, America, Poland, and Ukraine are leading the way out of the end of history, the sickeningly infantile delusion that there would never be a war in Europe again. This delusion has opened a lot of doors to the bad guys who never actually disappeared, who are always there, even when apparently reformed or invisible. Famine is nearly upon us through worldwide inflation, plus food and energy shortages, and destruction created by the above is beginning to manifest in the breaking down of social contacts within societies and internationally between nations. Deglobalization is the order of the day. This process cannot but continue, gradually but inexorably. Most Western governments have not truly faced it yet, though some are more prescient than others. However, perhaps it's good that this governmental response is gradual, because we don't want to scare the horses, voters, or Russians into a panic. They might do something we will all regret. Today, Eastern Europe will not be caught off guard, as polished defense capabilities also serve as a shield for the Baltics. Warsaw has solidified relations with Vilnius and supported the Lithuanian transit ban to Kaliningrad, amid growing border tensions with Belarus. These important shows of support contrast starkly with some other European powers, which have opted instead for appeasement. With the tragedies of history still embedded in the collective memory, it appears as though Poland will not be caught off guard again. The position of a strategic ally of the world's biggest superpower demands sacrifices and taking on a large burden, especially in wartime. Poland is passing the test during the current armed conflict, displaying a large amount of solidarity towards Ukraine, as well as a decisive, pro-Western approach, open to working together with its allies. In the future, this could bring Poland tangible benefits. Above all, it will allow Poland to play a key role, taking part in decisions on the architecture of the security system in Europe. A mid-sized country in the heart of Central Europe, Poland has been thrust into the limelight by the continent's rapidly changing balance of power. When it comes to sheer military power, it is punching far above its weight, positioning itself as the pivotal ally of the United States in continental Europe.